You may think that the way to learn Japanese is textbooks, Duolingo, or even Rosetta Stone. However, that is completely false. All of these free or even other apps for learning Japanese are going to teach you the unnatural Japanese. What is unnatural Japanese? Well, unnatural Japanese is way of speaking Japanese that real life Japanese people don't actually use, but textbooks and apps will teach you to speak this way. When you speak this way to natural Japanese people or foreigners that can actually speak Japanese, you will be seen as cringe or as someone who uses these apps but cannot actually speak Japanese. An example of unnatural Japanese. 私の名前はケン・ナガサキ。私は医者です。Something like this. If you are not that good in Japanese or you actually use Duolingo, this may seem normal to you, but it is not. I'm going to go through what exactly is not correct in this situation and why. So in the first sentence, 私の名前はケン・ナガサキ。My name is Ken Nagasaki. However, this is not the way that Japanese person would say it. This is just a way that textbooks or Duolingo would say it. How an actual Japanese person would say this would be Ken Nagasaki desu. No watashi no namae wa, no watashi wa, just Ken Nagasaki desu. This is translated to I'm Ken Nagasaki. And you don't have to say this is my name or stuff like that. The reason why it is like that is because when you are introducing yourself, you come and see a new person, you say Ken Nagasaki desu. It is obvious that you are talking about yourself. There is no one else that is named Ken Nagasaki usually. When you could be looking at him and say, Ken Nagasaki desu. So the person is looking at you and expects you to talk about yourself. For this reason, you don't have to say watashi wa, I am, because Japanese people don't do that. Japanese people say watashi wa only when it's necessary. If it's not, watashi wa is actually additional and it makes you sound weird. This is an important thing that you have to remember because unless you don't want to speak Japanese at all and you will just write, because in writing it's not that cringe, you have to unlearn this. You have to stop saying watashi wa when it's unnecessary, because otherwise you will never achieve the fluency that you want. Same for watashi no namae wa, that is even worse. Watashi no namae wa, my name is. It is just a stack of unnecessary words that take more from the conversation than they actually give. Same for the watashi wa isha desu, when you already introduced yourself and said I'm Ken Nagasaki, you don't have to say watashi wa at all because you already started speaking about yourself. Now you are saying I another time. That's not appropriate in Japanese at all. That's actually disgraceful. If you are a committed learner and really like the language, you wouldn't do this. Reason why they teach you this Japanese instead of the real one is because they don't care. They don't give a fuck if you are fluent. The only thing they care about is money. That's why they don't use real people for examples. And when you see some example in an app, you will click the sound and you will hear AI. 私はケン・ナガサキ。私の名前はケン. Just stupid nonsense. Just a fucking AI voice that doesn't have a proper pitch accent, if you know what it is. If you don't, then you don't have to think about it. Just that. But still, it's an AI. It's not going to speak like a Japanese person will, and you will speak like an AI if you learn from that. By the way, if you want to learn Japanese a lot faster, check the first link in the description, which is my full Japanese course for beginners, where I will teach you how to actually speak like a Japanese person. Now, let's go for the things that you should do to fix this. Or first, what you shouldn't do, and then what you should do. The main thing I just explained, the watashi wa, that you have to remove. And this works even for talking about other things. For example, I have a pencil here and Duolingo will teach you sentences like これはペンシルです. Firstly, that is fucking stupid. This sentence is not something that you are going to use unless it is like a weird pencil and it is not obvious that it is a pencil. But at the same time, you are saying これはペンシルです. And it is stupid. When you point towards an item, it is obvious that you are talking about the item. For the same reason that you don't say 私は, you are not going to say これは. It's enough when you just say ペンシルです or in some normal situation that would actually happen. If you are eating at a restaurant with your friends and you have a cake and it tastes amazing, you wouldn't say このケーキは美味しいです. You can just say 美味しいです or even 美味しい without the des. You have to remove this when you are speaking with friends, right? Because when you are with friends, you are not going to speak formal. If you don't know formal, informal, basically just remember when you are speaking informally, you are not going to use des or mas. So, 美味しいです when you are with your colleagues or colleagues that you don't know that well or your boss. 美味しい when you are speaking with your friends. But my main point was that you wouldn't say このケーキは because you are eating a cake and it is obvious that you have the cake in front of you and you don't have to say このケーキは. Everybody knows that you are talking about the cake. This is one of the most important concepts in natural Japanese, so remember it. And just a quick mention to Duolingo phrase どうぞよろしく, which is learned as nice to meet you when you introduce yourself. Don't use どうぞよろしく. Instead of that, use よろしく or よろしくお願いします when you want to be more formal. どうぞよろしく is a little bit older. Use よろしく or よろしくお願いします. And this way will sound more natural. Now what to do to sound more natural when you actually stop doing these weird things? And that is using the particles ね and よ. The particle ね is for agreement seeking. It's a little bit gay. Like, basically it means like, isn't it? Do you think the same? But still, Japanese people like to use it. And if you want to speak Japanese, you do too. So, for example, in the cake situation, when you are talking about how good it is, 美味しいです. Or with your friends, you would say just 美味しい. Instead of 美味しい, you would say 美味しいね. And this way, you are looking at others and asking 美味しいね. The cake is good, isn't it? And it is a way to talk, it is a way to sound more happy about it and more warm towards others. You can do the same with いい天気だね. It is a nice weather, isn't it? And others can say, it is nice weather. So when you sometimes use this particle, you will sound more natural. Your particle is something like an exclamation mark, but in a good sense, like you are not screaming. You are saying it with enthusiasm, or you want the other person to listen to you. For example, you see a spider over there, and you can say, kumo da yo. Look, there is a spider. When you say just, kumo da, there is a spider. When you say kumo da yo, it is, look over there. Something like that. Your particle is putting emphasis on the sentence. If the cake was cooked by one of your friends and the friend thought that the cake isn't good, I kind of failed, the cake isn't that good. You can say, 美味しいよ. And it is something like, don't say that, I like the cake. If you were just to say, 美味しい, it's maybe even a little bit weird in this situation. When you say 美味しいよ, I think that is good, and everybody listen to me. If you agree with me, you can say, it is good, to make the person happy. And last bonus tip for watching this far is when you want to say 知っている or 言っている. If you know the structure, When you say itteru, I am going. Iru at the end is basically like ing. Oyoideiru, I am swimming. When you want to say this structure and want to sound more natural, use shitteru, oyoideru, itteru. Remove the i and just say shitteru, wakatteru, like this. This is a thing that Japanese people, especially in Tokyo, do, and it is one of the things that can put you a level up in your Japanese fluency. When you do this, people can even notice and can even compliment you. If you want to get a lot of more tips like this and learn way quicker than Duolingo and textbook people, then go check the first link in the description, which is my community for learners who are really committed to learning Japanese and want to be there way faster than others. You will get a full course that will make you go from a complete beginner in Japanese to being advanced or even fluent. In the course, I will teach you the real Japanese instead of this weird slop that you learn from Duolingo or Rosetta Stone. And I will teach you where to find actual examples of Japanese people speaking, which you can learn from instead of an AI. So when you trust me enough, you can go and check it out. Goodbye.